Welcome everyone. As most of you know, I'm Andrew Brandt, director of the Moorad Center here. And what I've tried to do is bring a couple guests through here that I think are really leaders in the industry that could give students and anyone, professionals, anyone listening, insights into special areas of sports. We're lucky enough today to have what I consider one of the top agents in all of sports. He works primarily in football. Well recognized as one of the top agents in football. I think one person I've gotten to know very well, and I'm proud to say a good friend as well as a colleague. As you know, I've been an agent and I've been on the team side, so I competed with this guy for a while, but more importantly, did a lot of deals when I was with the Packers with Joel Segal. Always found it to be trustful, worked well together, and talked to each other as equals, way beyond the negotiation part of it. So that's always a pleasure for me. So let's give a warm welcome to Joel Segal. What I thought I'd do is we just have a conversation. We talk, ask some questions, and then open it up for you guys to join in and ask questions about the life of someone in his position. Welcome, Joel.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
This is great to have you here and let these guys hear from you. What I always start talking about when you and I talk and sort of your background, I think everybody's interested in how you get into the business and how you got into the business. You've had so much success, but at one point you were like a lot of young people wanting to marry sports into your career. Sort of talk about it.
Well, I think that when I went to college, thought I'd go to law school and looked to be a big trial lawyer. That was my dream, wear the suspenders and the whole thing. And do that. I went to law school and got the degree, and then went to a big law firm. It's kind of boring. Then I left rather quickly, moved into my parents' house, lived there way too long, and read an article one day about different sports agents. One was Bob Wolf and Lee Steinberg, the pioneers of the industry, and it just sounded cool. And so I thought I would start being a sports agent, and got a friend of mine. We started working, cold calling, printed up business cards, got hung up on a lot, and then got a client.
You remember like what you were saying in these cold calls back then?
Yeah, I do. Hi, it's Joel Segal, a sports agent. Hey, hi, how you doing? Good. I'd like to talk about representing you. Who do you represent? Nobody. Click. that was really what it was.
But then you got a guy, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you got your first guy.
Got one player. It was Brad Baxter on the New York Jets. He was fullback there from Alabama State. Good player. He had an agent. It was far away. I was in New York, and ultimately we got to sign Brad.
Why take a chance on young guys without clients?
Well, I think he liked us.
Yeah.
I didn't know much. I think he thought we were pretty nice guys, and we were friends, and he gave us a shot.
That's great. That's what everyone needs.
Yep.
And from there?
Well, it's from there, got a few more guys. That was it, built the business.
Yeah. And building the business now, for people who don't know, Joel has a roster of 60-something.
I have a lot of guys.
And again, he's too modest, but well-known guys like Michael Vick, like DeSean Jackson, like Chris Johnson, like Percy Harvin, like Jarvis Jones, Eric Fisher, Tavon Austin. I know I'm missing a lot. Randy Moss, the Pouncey brothers. So this is kind of a who's who list in the NFL, a Pro Bowl All-Star type player. Reggie Bush, I forgot. And then when I say those names, obviously, you considered one of the bigger in the industry. It's like 800-something agents.
Yeah.
How do you compete?
Well, I try to just identify good players and try to get to meet them and earn trust slowly, and hopefully they like you.
And you have that short time to earn that trust, especially with young guys.
You know what we're talking about on the rookies?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a short window. Like
they decide.
They can decide in a day. So generally you have to hopefully maybe talk to the parents throughout the college season, slowly earn trust with their families, and then they may bring in a group of agents and you just got to hope they connect and realize you're real and you're a good guy.
Yeah. What's a recruiting meeting like?
On rookies?
Yeah.
I generally, there's a panel, usually there'll be mom, dad, and maybe some other relative or a high school coach, or there's usually a triumvirate, and there's usually questions asked about what your services are, who some of your clients are, and then generally, focusing on can you get along with the player.
Yeah. And so they have, like you saw, really short process in terms of earning that trust. That's
Sure.
really built as you represent them, right?
Yeah, like I always say when I'm recruiting young guys, I don't ever feel full trust until I've done their deal.
Yeah. And talk about doing their deal. You and I did some deals with the Packers.
Yeah, I'm glad you're not in that anymore. It was not easy.
Yeah, neither was he. But like me, there were all shapes and sizes doing these deals. How do you gain that trust? I know with you and I, it was through doing some deals, through having some tough times.
Yeah.
Where I didn't want to pay and you didn't want to not take what I was offering. So you're dealing with 32 NFL teams with different people, and you grew up with some of these guys in the business.
Yeah. But what's good now, and as you're getting through this, a lot of the decision makers now, whether they're general managers or presidents, are guys we were on the road with growing up, recruiting. They were scouting. I was recruiting. We were trying to get by on going into some of the happy hours to get, the pigs in a blanket for dinner.
Yeah.
And now these guys are running these guys are running NFL teams. So it's kind of neat that you know them since they were neophytes.
Yeah. And one thing that's changed in negotiations on the rookie side is, as a lot of these students know, the new CBA in the NFL is like, these are fairly preset contracts. But as I mentioned, 3 top players in this year's draft, Fisher #1, and then Tavon and Jarvis Jones. It's not as preset as people think, perhaps.
Well, I think the fact that rookie deals are slotted is highly exaggerated. I think that, yes, it's less complicated than it was historically, but there's no option bonus anymore necessarily. The incentives are less complicated. But I think that, I know Eric Fisher's deal this year with the Chiefs, we were negotiating some really important issues up till 1, 2 in the morning the night before training camp, and we barely got in on time. So there's some negotiation involved.
Yeah, hardly a preset contract.
No.
And John Dorsey is one of those guys you talked about. He worked with me at the Packers, where you sort of grow up in the business.
Yeah.
And now he's general manager of the Chiefs, with a guy known well around this parts, Andy Reid, running that franchise. So you mentioned 60-something clients, a lot of guys. I'm sure everyone has the same question. How do you and a small staff handle that? Because there's so many needs.
Yeah, we keep a small group by design. It's hard to earn trust with people, and we've got a great group of guys we work with together. And I think that it's not hard. It's what I do for a living. So every morning I wake up, look at the client list, see who needs what, attack it, address it, and it's what I do.
You ever get called out like you got to have more people?
No, we do our job. Yeah, we do our job, and we have great people working for us. Listen, Aileen's been with me forever.
Yeah. Since
she was at Brooklyn Law School. Shafi was a client of mine. Greg forever. We have a small inner circle that's awesome, and I think quality over quantity right now.
Yeah. And I will say this, because you won't say it, but I know guys that have been with you forever, like a Darren Sharper, who still speak the world of you, and that's a real testament to someone who's no longer playing, that really has that shared connection for a long time. But speaking of staff, a lot of these guys probably want to get into a staff like yours. Any advice, in terms of right way to go, beyond right place, right time, sort of preparing yourself to get in the business?
Yeah, I mean, everybody says a lot of the same stuff, and I don't want to sound like a cliche and try to be more real than people acting like, oh, I'm just going to say work hard or be aggressive or accept failure and all that stuff. I think it's really like anything else. if you have connections with people or know folks who your family knows or friends know, it's kind of sometimes who you know, not what you know. And if you get your foot in the door, because everybody's probably great. It's just getting in the door. There's no one that's not great, probably. So if you get in the door and show how great you are, that's one of the good things to do. If there are absolutely no connections whatsoever, I think one thing is just realize that I always said if someone's got to do it, it may as well be me. And just, I think that mantra is pretty good. And just go with that. And I don't know if there's any other questions later, I'll be glad to answer those.
Yeah, and you meet a lot of young people all the time.
Yeah.
And where it's, I guess, kind of like a recruiting meeting with you and a player. You know, right? You know soon that this guy or this woman is.
I know in 10 seconds. I got picked up by a great young guy today. I met him this morning. I knew right away. High character, humble, respectful, and it wasn't fake. So you meet people like that. You meet young people, and you know who's pretty good and who's not sometimes, who's being a little fake. And so I think just be yourself and meet nice people, and every opportunity make the best of it. And so yeah, you got to make judgments. And
like you said, it's more than, I meet kids all the time, I love sports. It's more than that. I mean, everybody loves sports.
Yeah, it's a thing, maybe the way you come off, the family values, the way you're raised, the integrity, who's going to be honest. Like the same guys have been with me forever, mostly not because they're great recruiters, which they are, or good businessmen, which they are, because they're good friends and they're honest and they got your back and they're just straight.
Yeah. One of the things that we talked about a lot was the 2011 collective bargaining agreement, where a lot of stuff happened beyond your control. Okay, agents can only do so much. It was the union negotiating with the league. They were locked out. They were going to court. They were going to court in Minnesota. They were going to court in St. Louis. How do you handle that? How do you handle that with all your clients wondering what the heck's going on?
Well, all the guys, including me, were real anxious, ready to get back. But in the same time, we knew there was going to be a CBA negotiated, hopefully for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So you had to be patient to make sure we got the best deal we could get, and then move on and get ready to play football.
And when that got resolved, I think you and I said that those are probably the two busiest days in the history of the business of football.
Yeah, all of a sudden, 30 deals were on my desk.
You were doing, I remember, Santonio Holmes, Reggie Bush, Chris Johnson, Mike Vick.
Yeah, I talked to you about all those deals.
Within a week.
Yeah. We had less than a week. That was a matter of days, I think, all those deals happened. We had to get ready for camp quickly. And it was exciting, but a lot of work.
A moment in time.
Yeah, it was
that
great.
we may never have again.
Yep.
Before we open up for questions, I know there are a lot, and I know you like to interact and have that. Future of the agent business. You know, it's 800-something agents, and a lot of them don't even have clients. There's Jay-Z entering the business, not only in football, but with Robinson Cano and with Kevin Durant. And where do you see it going? You know, and do you see, what are the challenges you see on the horizon?
Well, you know, I think the business, as much as it's changing, is the same.
Yeah.
I think it's about relationships, trusting your guys and them trusting you, and doing a good job. Make sure the player's a star, you're not.
Yeah.
And remember that, and do a workmanlike job, and keep relationships strong. I don't think it's changed so much.
And that's a good point. I'll follow up on that, because you have some very high-profile clients. But unlike some agents, I don't see you in the media. And you've made a conscious effort of that.
Yeah, I feel lucky to have this job and, you know, be able to work with these guys. And I don't feel like it's a job every day. I just get to do what I love to do. So there's nothing I've done that needs to be, you know, in the newspaper. It's what these guys are doing, and just take one day at a time, and they're the stars.
But when media calls you, what about this guy? What about this guy? What about this contract?
I don't talk that much.
You just defer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the player.
Yeah.
I'll ask some more questions along the way, but now I'd like to open it up, you know, sort of hear from you. And let me just sort of say at the beginning, you can tweet or Facebook that, you know, I'm watching Joel Segal and Andrew, whatever it is, but anything that's potentially sensitive, let's respect Joel and not tweet out those things. And I'm the big tweeter, so I know. So I'll open it up. And say your name when you ask.
Yes, sir.
Dan LaPera. We hear a lot of stories and see a lot of documentaries about like life after football, and like broke the 30 for 30 about these players, and I know a lot of them have like financial advisors and whatnot. But what is your role as an agent, as their agent, basically about protecting them and informing them about after football?
Yeah, I'm a fiduciary for the guys. I love my guys, and I do anything I can to protect them, and always advising the player, make sure you're saving, make sure you're vetting anybody you're dealing with. If I can help you vet anybody, let me do it. And remember, this is short. You're not in this for a long time, and be aware that there's people out there trying to take advantage. So I do best I can as a fiduciary.
So you and I talked over the Brokes and the horror stories of Iverson and Mike Tyson. You think some of that's kind of overrated?
Well, I think that you hear a lot of the bad stuff.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good stories. I just had a few clients in the last year. Life After Football, Darren Sharper's doing well on NFL Network. Randy Moss is doing amazingly well so far on Fox. We've got Antonio Freeman has many businesses going on. We've got Tyrone Wheatley is coaching for the Buffalo Bills. Brenson Buckner is the D-line coach for the Arizona Cardinals. I've been involved in most of these things going on and helping the guys. So for all the bad stuff, which is terrible, there's a lot of good stuff.
Good point. Other questions?
Yep.
Mac,
Yes, sir.
nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
How do you prioritize? We have 60 clients. How do you prioritize your time with all 60 clients? Is it based on who's been with you the longest, or do you kind of base it off of who's the big star at the time?
No, quite the antithesis. Each guy is the same, whether it's the last pick in the draft or the first pick in the draft, whether it's making $100 million or $5 million. If you commit to a guy, you've got to commit. And so what I do, I'll repeat. Every day I'll look at my client list right in here, see who needs what. So I'll literally say to myself, A, what does Terrence Austin need? Then go back to the end. I go through, what does Willie Young need? And keep going through the list. And until I'm satisfied that I've done it all, I won't go to sleep.
How much of that, you have a staff that I know is very capable. How much of that is delegated?
Not much. I like to do it. It's player. Anytime somebody needs something, I'm going to make the initial call, make sure it's handled, and then sure, if anybody else can help me out and do it, we'll get it done together. We have unbelievable people with us, but I want to make sure my relationship with the guys is strong, so in a time of need, they know I'm there.
And I remember getting that question in recruiting when I worked for a big firm. Like, are you going to do the contract or one of these other guys? Because that was important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, King Pedraza. I just had a question. When you're talking about representing a rookie or potentially representing a rookie, is it earning potential you're looking for? Is it what are the qualifications or things you're looking for a rookie, and when do you make that initial contact?
Yeah, it depends. I think that we've probably reached out to families depending on the state regulation, the school regulations, and the different filings you have to make, assuming it's all done properly. We've reached out as early as June after the draft in that year, and I've talked to guys as late as December. So it really depends on the particular player. You're looking for good players with high character. It's the best you'll try. And guys you have a click with, guys you have friends they represent, schools you've been at for a long time. We have relationships. So I think those are some of the things I'll look for in building business. Yes, let's be on.
Hi, Bianca. I was just wondering, how do you deal with social media? You know, a lot of athletes like to tweet and post online. Do you set a policy, or you kind of leave it up to them?
I can't set a policy. I'll talk to the guys, and the big tweeters. So if I represented Andrew, I'd make sure.
You can't control them.
I can't, I will make sure just to say, hey, be careful here or be careful there. Just as I'd expect somebody to say to me if I was doing something, be careful. These are grown men, smart guys, but I think if there's a mega tweeter, I'll try to maybe say a few things to make sure and remind everybody that it's different than it was a few years back. One press of the button can change things.
You had companies come to your guys for sponsored tweets?
Yeah, we do it.
You
Yeah,
do?
we have guys who get paid for tweeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually turned that down because
Yeah.
I thought I'd lose my authenticity.
Well, you know, I think that we take each case at
Yeah.
a time, and some of the guys like it, some guys don't, but guys have been paid for tweeting.
Yeah. It's a new world.
Yeah.
I'm
Greg?
Greg Katz. I think one of the most interesting things in the agent world is kind of to see how like smaller boutique agencies or larger agencies are constantly kind of switching and getting bought out. And I know your firm is very active in it, and I read some things about like IMG may be selling. So I'm just kind of wondering, what do they have to offer you in terms of like trying to attract you to their agency, or what's stopping you from going somewhere else or on your own even?
So as far as like my relationship with Lagardère, so I'm with a big company right now, and I'm under contract with that company. And I think it's, as long as everybody's on the same page in the company, and you're talking about making smart acquisitions and building as a team and using some of the positives in the other divisions to help your division, I think the big company can be great. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like there would be a lot of competition for somebody. Like I would imagine that multiple agencies approached you and to try to attract you there. And I guess what made you choose Lagardère over a CAA or something like that?
Yeah, I thought there's a lot of good companies. And, like I keep saying, there just happened to be a good personality click between the people at that company at the time. And we all got along, and it seemed like it would be a good fit.
Thanks.
Yep.
You pretty independent even with them, or do you have a lot of interaction with?
Well, like the folks say at the company, we have built a decent football business. We're not going to tell you how to run your football business.
Right.
So I run my business, in a way I've always run it, but we have now the advantage of other corporate factors that'll include, bigger marketing, branding. We have the accounting side of it, and different sports divisions, which hopefully there's some synergy.
Yeah. Question back.
Michael Campbell, thanks for coming.
Okay.
Wondering if you could speak for a moment to your approach to negotiations, your preparation, how you go into it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think that generally, I'm really only as good as the client. So I'm a lot better with, a Pro Bowl player than I am with a late round draft choice, so to speak. So I think the first thing I always do is remain consistent as a negotiator. Give the same respect that I hope to get from people, whether I'm in a position of leverage or not. I think that's the most important thing I've always done, is try to give respect and hopefully get it back. As far as preparation, what I'm always doing is looking at comps. I'm trying to find the best comparable that I can use, and at the very beginning of the negotiation, I'm going to probably do something that I know in my mind may be a little higher than I think the team is willing to go, but I can back it up with a straight face and then get to a point where we can have a meeting of the minds. But I think comps are the biggest thing I do as far as a strategic preparation. Nothing earth-shattering there, huh? Yes.
Hi, I'm Dana Chipcom in the development office.
Hi.
Kind of switching gears from the game, with the popularity of reality TV shows like Dancing with the Stars, for example. I notice a lot of athletes get involved in that. Do they typically come to the agent and say, I want to participate in that? Or do the producers call you and say, we're looking for X, Y, and Z? How does that
Yeah,
work?
I would say the lion's share would be people calling us. And I'd say 99% of the players say no.
Yeah.
Because, you do a risk reward, and where's the high, where's the low, where's the up, where's the down? What am I going to get out of this? What can I give back to people? Generally, the risk outweighs the reward in a lot of these things. Sometimes you hit on a good one. But I'd say 99% they're calling us.
Great.
Yep. Sure.
They always win those things too.
Yeah, Heinz Ward, I mean.
Heinz Ward and Emmett Smith.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Matthew Kaiser. In working with, I guess, other GMs, and maybe Andrew, you could speak to this too, how quickly does reputation spread, and does it affect negotiations?
I think the reputation spread before you finished your question. Okay, it's a small world. 32 clubs, maybe a bunch of agents have a lot of the good players, small group of people. So-
Yeah, it's totally, you know, it's like, you just answered the question from Michael about negotiations. It's, like Joel will get a guy drafted and the file will say this team, that team, that team. He's like, all right. He'll either say, I can get a deal done with this team, or he'll roll his eyes and he'll curse that his player went to that team. I'll do the same thing as a team negotiator. If I see we picked a guy, first thing everyone looks at me and says, who's the agent? You know. And you either say, oh yeah, we'll get it, that'll be easy, or you roll your eyes and curse. And, but the one thing on the team side, I will say this, at least from my experience, it was my job to have the football people not worry about the agent, you know. Don't not take a guy because he's got an unreasonable agent. That's my problem. So don't ever get in the way of that. And I think from the agent side, it's the same thing. You don't want a guy not taken because you hate the team, you know, of course not.
Yeah. Sir.
My name is Charles Linares, and I was wondering, when you became an agent, did you like have to stop like rooting for like your favorite team, or does that ever like affected your decision making as a fan of the game?
I'll say, Charles, it really has changed. It becomes completely more business than team. And people ask me who I root for. I would say two different levels. One, my guys, and two, nice people in front offices. You know what I mean? Good people. I root for good people to win.
You know, I don't know if you agree with this. I thought it was exactly, when I was an agent, it's exactly like now being a fantasy team owner. Exactly. Because you're rooting for this guy on this team, this guy on this team, your team. It was the same thing being an agent. You root for your team.
Root for your guys.
Matt?
I have no question. What are your views on athletes that choose to represent themselves? Do you think they're at a severe disadvantage not having an agent going to negotiations?
Yeah, I would think so. I'd rather have an expert negotiating for me if something, just in any aspect of your life, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And I would generally think that if you had an advocate on your side working for you, you're going to probably have a better outcome most of the time.
And why do you think some athletes choose to do that?
You know, everybody has their own opinion, and guys do different things. No one ever does everything the same way, so I just like, for some reason, guys will want to do it, and let them go, and then hopefully a lot of guys will still want agents.
I hated it. I hated when guys represent themselves. Because you're telling a guy he's not as good as he thinks. That's why you need agents. They're the buffer. You know, they're the presenter. And it is the worst when I had to deal with guys. They're like, hey, Andrew, you were an agent. You know, this will be fine. And I hated it. It's the worst.
There may be a lot more that goes on with it than folks think.
Yeah.
Yes?
Megan Farley, have your guys taught you anything surprising about yourself or about the business, or anything unexpected that you...
Megan, you're having me get introspective, huh? Okay. About myself, I think that in this business, what I've learned is that when I was a kid and I watched sports, you look at athletes and with the S on their chest, they're superheroes, or bigger than life, or different. And what I've realized, that my guys and stuff are just like me or you or anybody else. They're microcosms of society, and they have wives and girlfriends and friends and like certain foods and different movies, and they're real guys and real problems and real highs and real lows, just like you and I. So I think maybe what I've learned in business is that there's no such thing as this iconic superhero, but folks are folks. So I've learned that.
I remember when I started as an agent, like Joel, a young kid, and a guy asked me something personal. I was totally taken aback. It's like, oh my God, like he's asking me like a friend. It was very scary, but that's what happened.
Yes, sir.
Les Book, and I wanted to ask you about the relationship that you have with some of the off-field problems that maybe some of your players have in terms of, especially NFL seems to be an issue. What kind of role do you have with your clients in terms of maybe advising or giving them the guidance they might need to
I think it's a big role. I think I'm usually the first call. I've been involved in some fairly high-profile guys who's had some, issues, and I think the most important thing I've done is not overreact. Player will call and just analyze the situation, take a minute, sit back, don't feed into the frenzy, so to speak, and then see what's best for everybody, including the client, most importantly. Yes, sir.
Kenny Ridge. You've had guys who've gone on to win the Super Bowl, and you've negotiated large contracts for some guys, but what have been the most rewarding experiences in your career?
Well, I could start when I was young. One of the greatest ones, I remember, I was a young guy, and Tyrone Wheatley was drafted by the New York Giants a long time ago, and his wife was pregnant, and I found out she was pregnant, and I drove into New Jersey to the hospital, and he ordered me to go out and get McDonald's. I ran out to get the French fries and the Big Macs and stuff. By the time I got back, I brought him almost right when she was delivering the baby. I was like so excited, and I got to bring the French fries to them when they were getting the baby delivered. That was such a great experience. I was nervous, excited. I felt important. That's what I remember.
That leads to the question, though, and this is a real question. Do you lose those highs after so many years?
No, every day exciting.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm jacked up to watch football tonight.
Yeah.
I want to watch Tavon score a touchdown. I want to watch True get a pick, Terrell Brown get a pick. I'm jacked up for tonight. No.
That's great.
No.
Do you watch multi-screens on Sunday?
It depends, because a lot of times I'm at a game.
You're at a game.
Yeah.
How often are you at a game?
Every weekend.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I usually don't miss a weekend, unless there's a wedding or something.
Yeah. Schedule it out. You got it all.
I have it planned now, 3 weeks now, going to Monday Night Football this week. The following week is going to be, I think Detroit's playing, going to that one, just have it mapped out.
How many of the 32 teams you got, guys?
I think most.
You can go again.
Yeah.
Or where?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. For these folks, any particular courses, classes that you found helpful to you?
You know, I thought that for me in law school, the fear of failure drove me. And doing that in every class and making sure I didn't miss a detail didn't matter the class. It mattered for me, at least. I'm not giving you the canned answer probably, but focusing on every little thing, learning a thought process, paying attention to detail, being on time, doing it right. I think that's what's helped me the most. Interacting with people, getting to know my professors, and understanding authority, and understanding I don't know what I don't know, and learning it. I don't know that any course for me was extra helpful, but I think the entire range of discipline in law school was awesome.
I mean, you basically answered this to a lot of your answers, but you talk about, your personal stories with Tyrone Wheatley, and Andrew talked about, clients come and ask them personal questions. At what point, and you root for these guys, at what point does, the personal feelings stop in the business? Can you just talk a little bit about, the separation between, you work with these guys around the clock, and where does the personal feelings stop?
I've got to say, not to be corny, but if I look through my list, I like everybody. So I don't know that it separates. I don't want to see, if a guy gets injured, it's not like I'm losing money. It's like, oh man, I hope he's okay. It really is personal. I don't think you can be in this thing and be decently successful if you don't love the guys. I really believe that.
You turn down guys?
I don't want to say that. I'd sound, I don't know. I don't want to turn anybody down. I'm lucky enough if I can get clients. That's what I would say. Yes?
Sam Maxine, do you find that sort of the people surrounding the athletes you ultimately, sign impact negotiations at all, or their approach to negotiations?
You mean the quote hangers on? I would say I think the hanger on accusations or syndrome is highly exaggerated. I haven't come across it very much in my career, and I think absolutely not. I would never let it affect it, and I don't think there's been an opportunity that it would affect it.
In the back.
Nick Novi, you spoke briefly about the importance about getting your foot in the door and getting your first client. I was wondering, once you have that first client though, how did you really know what you were doing? I mean, did you have a mentor?
I didn't know. I didn't
A lot of
know.
trial and error then?
No, Nick, I didn't have like, you know, a big company to work for. I didn't have anyone to work for. It was just me and a partner of mine who was just as naive as I was. It was really trial and error, and probably quite fortunate I didn't get taken advantage of.
Have you experienced many athletes like change their attitude or their personality, like as soon as they sign like that first big contract, or let's say you had someone for a while and then they get that huge contract extension? Does that like change like their personality, or like, and how do you deal with that if it does?
That's a brand new question, just like the introspective one. I'd have to take time to think about that. I can't give you an automatic answer. There's been a lot of deals along the way. I think the general answer would be, I don't think the guys have changed much. I think if anything, they changed for the better, maybe appreciative. Wow, you really did your job here. When really it's not me doing so much, it's the client. 99% of everything I do is client-based or more, and I can just fill in the blanks. But I don't sense a negativity. I can't say no one's ever changed though. Yeah. Back.
Hi, Tom Denoya. Excuse me. You mentioned negotiating the night before training camp up till 2 in the morning. What are nights like that like? Are they intense?
It's a rush. I remember those nights. I remember every single one of them, which table I was at, which order in dominoes I had, how tired we were, what Aileen was saying on the phone to me. She's one of the counsel with us. I remember all of them, and it's all cool. It's tiring, it's a rush, you gotta do a job, you gotta make sure you're not sloppy, because it's late, and I've always stopped doing it. If I can't think anymore, I just will not take a phone call, or I'll say, hey, listen, let's pick this up in the morning. But there's a rush, there's a lot of pressure from coaches to get it done, because they want the player in there, and as the negotiators are doing it together, you can attest to this, we've got a job to do, and there's a football side of it. So there's a rush generally, but it has to be a very measured rush.
I think from my point of view, we always have those deadlines. And the agents, the good ones, use those deadlines against teams. So training camp is obviously one. One is right. I think the busiest time for a team person is probably late February, early March, where you're starting what's called the new league year. Trying to get under the cap, you're trying to get guys signed, you're trying to keep guys away from free agency where they have the most leverage they can ever have. And yeah, I remember a lot of those. Luckily in Green Bay we were an hour earlier, so I didn't stay up quite as late. Tom.
Tom Elliott. How much can the personalities of your client play into negotiations? If somebody's quote unquote a good guy, or has maybe issues off the field, can he be perceived as difficult to negotiate with? And does that affect you going in?
That stuff all matters, no question. I think where it matters most is there are some guys, there's 2 guys in my career, I can't mention specifically, who drove me so hard and were on me so hard that they got great contracts. It was all player driven. I just drove the car. They pushed and pushed, and they wanted a new deal, and they were great players, and they got new deals, and it was because of them. They were awesome, and they were taking their business into their hands. You know, this was Mr. Jones Incorporated, and he said, I'm getting a deal, and they pushed me. Not a day went by where they didn't say, where's my deal? And that really, really helped them get deals.
Well, this is great. Before I wrap up, I will volunteer Joel to stick around about 5-10 minutes, shake your hand, and it's an opportunity to meet one of the best in the business. But thanks so much for such an informative and interesting and entertaining time together. Let's thank Joel.